This week on SibRiv.
David may have this irrational complex that tells him that he is not a good big brother, but all the evidence suggests the exact opposite. I submit for your consideration proof that our big brother David indeed has a heart and is a good big brother. Chicken fell out of the freezer and your dad said, "You effing chicken!" Welcome, everyone, to the world-famous SibRiv Podcast. I am your host, Dana, and I'm joined here by my two amazing co-hosts, my siblings.
Hello, my lovely siblings.
Hello.
That is David and Michelle. And the old question remains, how are you two this week?
Great. Went to the Bruins game last night.
Did you guys have a good time?
It was. We had a great time. Yeah.
Awesome.
Right in the rafters. You could see everything. I mean, we could see the banners that hang, you know? It was so cool.
Did you heckle them at all?
When we scored the first one, I turned around and looked at the Hurricane fan, and she smiled and I smiled.
No. So for everybody listening, Dana, I don't even know if you know this, but when Shelly and I have gone to Red Sox games, we go to heckle the Red Sox, not the opposing team. So I was just wondering if do you heckle the Bruins, especially given how they've been playing this season, or do you?
Well, from where she was, it would have sounded like...
Yeah, that's true.
No, we did not heckle. I mean, there were a couple like, come on, seriously, but that's it. Nothing too crazy.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have a clip of the week for you two.
Ooh.
It actually kind of ties into Shelley's topic this week.
We don't care about checking in with the older brother?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Fine.
I'm a bad middle brother.
Not very diplomatic of you. I'm just saying.
How are you this week, Dave?
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, if it's any
Let's get
consolation,
to the clip of the week.
If it's any consolation, this week's clip of the week is about you, David.
Ooh.
Oh,
Oh, you smoking Dave. You heckled a little too soon there, my friend.
For Dana's clip of the week.
You're a good big brother.
Sure, maybe you left your little 4-year-old brother by himself, stranded at Hearts Park, miles from home. And maybe while babysitting your little 3-year-old sister, you might have done a better job keeping an eye on her so she wouldn't jump from her bed to the wooden bench, pretending she was Wonder Woman and breaking her arm in the process. You believe these small little hiccups in your role and duties as a big brother somehow make you a bad brother. But I would contest the evidence speaks otherwise. Who was the one that sheltered sweet little innocent Dana from arguments their parents were having as children, taking him on wild adventures looking for hidden jewels under the pull-out couch? And who was the ever-so-knowledgeable brother that taught little Michelle important life skills, such as headbanging to heavy metal music, after he went away to the Air Force? Who was the one that made sure every single Christmas to send his little brother and sister plenty of awesome Christmas gifts, including overcoming the embarrassment of having to walk into the store and purchase Shaquille O'Neal's rap album for his little brother Dana?
Oh my God.
And who was the one when his brother Dana called to let him know it was looking like the end for our saint of a mother that got on the first available plane from Oregon to Boston to be by his siblings' side and to be there for our mother? And who was the one in the room with his little brother and sister as we all watched our dear mother take her final breaths? No, David may have this irrational complex that tells him that he is not a good big brother, but all the evidence suggests the exact opposite. I submit for your consideration proof that our big brother David indeed has a heart and is a good big brother.
I wondered why you asked me for pictures of little Dave and I. 'Cause there aren't that many.
Yeah.
So
Oh my gosh.
So really, to make the case that I'm a great big brother, all you had to do was point out that I bought the Shaq album for my little brother.
Oh, that's awesome. That's amazing. Oh my
It was kind of rushed. I had to whip that up right before the show. I spent like the last hour and a half trying to put that together real quick. Yes, it takes an hour and a half to edit a 2-minute video. With that being done, Michelle, why don't you take us into this week's topic?
All right. So this week we're talking about irrational thoughts, irrational fears, irrational hatreds. If any of you watched the clip last week, you all know now about my chicken fear that I have of, it's not really chicken, it's salmonella. I have a fear of salmonella. And so, yeah, I kind of thought we would just kind of start there. I would explain a little more, and then we can get into some of your things. And I realized that I do have an irrational hatred, so we can get into those too. Because I feel like you guys probably don't have as many fears. I'm getting the impression that you guys are like, macho, I don't have fears.
I thought of one this week.
Oh, good.
Because it happened to me. Well, the situation that brings up my irrational fear happened to me this week.
Oh,
So.
Okay. All right.
But.
So, go ahead, Dave. You sounded like you were going to say something.
I was just going to say the things that cause fear for me. They're not exactly for irrational reasons. So, and I know we're going to get into that. So, yeah.
All right. So we'll start with my chicken salmonella thing. First of all, I want to tell you I've had many people tell me that they also are like that when they deal with chicken. Our dear Auntie Dolores messaged me and said she was making chicken this morning and thought of me. And she said she made sure to wash and clean everything real good. And I said in the Zaborski household, we call that decontaminating.
We call that decontaminating?
Yes, Mike will attest that he will also tell me, like, if I'm coming home from work and he is cooking, he'll tell me, I just had chicken over there. It has not been decontaminated yet. Like, it's biohazard over there. I'm like, okay, thank you. Yeah, so my chicken thing, I don't know where it started. I feel like...
I can tell you.
You can?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all started when a freezer fell out of the chicken and your dad said, "You effing chicken!"
I remember that.
I do remember that too. I gave him so much crap for that.
Your dad would often irrationally yell at inanimate objects.
I forgot about the chicken. Yes, and then immediately after I was like, that effing chicken. And he thought it was the funniest thing. Of course, I didn't swear, but oh my God. Does anyone really know where my chicken fear came from?
Mom.
Did
Do you think it was
have
mom?
a...
I don't know that mom had that.
Mom did not take it to the level of that Michelle does with, decontamination procedures. But back in, I want to say the late 80s to early 90s, there was actually a salmonella outbreak that made the news. And mom, as mom tended to do, she got very worried about that and would take, I think, a little bit of extra special care. Not like crazy, but she definitely had a reaction to that, to where she would do a little bit of extra cleaning after handling chicken.
And when
When
was that salmonella outbreak?
It was probably, I think, just before you were born, or maybe right after.
Because there have been other salmonella outbreaks.
I'm thinking,
and all that.
Yeah, I'm thinking it must have been around maybe, unless I'm misremembering. As we talked about last week, memory is not perfect. I'm wondering now if she had that reaction to that news story because she was pregnant with you, and that was something that she was worried about.
Possible.
So you think that I was born into this world with a salmonella?
She passed it on to you through the womb.
Well,
yeah.
She passed on a fear of dogs to me through the womb.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Oh.
she was 6 months pregnant with me when she was walking home from work and got attacked by 6 dogs, and she had to fight them off with her purse.
Oh my God. I did not know that story.
Yeah. So I grew up. It's only been within the last 5-10 years that I've been able to relax around dogs
Oh,
because I met
interesting.
I met a couple good ones that were they must have known instinctively, so they would like do what they could to worm their way into my
Yeah.
good graces.
Dogs can sense fear. That is true. Um, yeah, so I feel like I don't know if it came from the restaurant business or what, but
Well, I was going to ask if you ever took the serve save course.
I did.
Yeah, so that would
I
give you
did.
anxiety about it too, because they really talk about that in the serve
They
save
do.
course.
And like how to properly store your meat in the fridge and all that, you know. But I don't, but it's so bad that like if I'm out to dinner and I order, which is generally what I order is a lot of chicken, I cut it, I inspect it, and if there's any small hint of pink, I cut it off and I like put it to the side. And like Mike has watched me do this. Like he has commented like, "Oh, that is that chicken no good?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's not good chicken over there." And I was served raw chicken once. I'm not going to say the restaurant, but I was with you, Dana. I don't know if you remember. We were with Hunter, and he was very little. I'll tell you later because I don't want. I love this restaurant still, so I don't want to put him on blast. But yeah. So and like so, ever since then, now I like fully inspect any chicken that is served to me. I have a thermometer, like a meat thermometer, that I use, and if it is not at 165 or higher, it goes back in the pan until it is 165. And when Mike cooks and we cook, you know, anything, I say, "Did you temperature that? Did you?" And he said to me a couple months ago, he's like, "I should have put in my vows to you that I will never serve you raw meat of any kind, and I will not serve you raw chicken specifically." Because that's I literally ask him every time we cook, "Did you temperature that? Did you temperature this? Is there is everything?" And I know that he has, but I it's like compulsive. I can't not. I just need to know that it was at 165. And here is the oddest part of this salmonella thing. I will eat raw cookie dough like it is going out of style. When I bake, I love raw cookie dough. When I bake brownies, I will eat the brownie out of the bowl, which I also got from mom. Mom used to, you know, let us lick the spoons, lick the bowl, all that. So tell me how that makes sense. That I am terrified of salmonella, but will eat raw cookie dough, raw brownie batter. I have regular yolks when I, you know, cook an egg. Like over easy, over medium, whatever, you know. Tell me how that makes sense.
The eggs are pasteurized though, right?
Oh, yeah. So you think
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
okay.
yeah, maybe.
All right.
Some sort of reason, it could be not as
Okay.
bad.
Yeah. My other thing too is like I hate touching chicken. I hate touching chicken. And I actually had to meal prep this morning, and I had chicken, and we had dinner. After our conversation about the salmonella last week, we had chicken. I almost sent you guys a video of like Mike cleaning everything up. I did not do that, but yeah, I had to touch it. It's
So
horrible.
why don't you wear the little
I used
gloves?
to have gloves. And then COVID happened, and it was like impossible to find
Oh.
gloves at that time. I could go back, but honestly, Mike does most of the cooking, so I generally don't have to touch a lot of chicken. If anything, I'll do the decontaminating because I'll make sure, like, did you touch this? Did you touch that? You know, did like when you turn the sink on, did you like arm it or did you use your hand? You know, because I'm a big like if I have chicken on my hands, I like, you know, I pump with like my wrist, the soap thing, you know, to not touch. Can't have it touching.
So you approach cooking chicken the way a surgeon approaches surgery, pretty much.
I think so. Yes, I am scrubbed in. Yeah, I scrub in and scrub out when I am dealing with chicken. I can't tell you how many times I washed my hands today when I was making that chicken. And I temperatured every single I had cooked chicken tenders. Every single one I temperatured to make sure it was and if it's at 164, I'm like, nope, back down until you hit 165. I can't do it. I can't do it. my chicken thing. And then my other, it's bird related. I know where this one came from. You guys know I hate birds, right? Like, I hate the of their wings. I think they're dirty and just germ filled. And I know where it came from. We were up in Maine when we were kids, and we were like in a yard. I forget whose yard it was. But I was with our cousins, and we were playing, and there was a dead bird on the ground. And I remember Patty yelling, "Don't touch it! Don't touch that bird!" And then I was like, "Oh my God, don't touch it! Don't touch it! Don't even look at it!" And ever since then, I don't like birds. And we were walking to the garden last night, and we saw a dead bird, and I was like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God!" And Mike's like, "What? What?" And I'm like, "There's a dead bird right there. There's a dead bird right there." And he was like, "Okay, we're walking. We're fine. Everything's good."
Dana and I have a history with a dead bird.
Really?
Wasn't that a bat?
No, it was a bird.
It was
a bird.
bat.
After I figure I should tell this story after Dana's touching tribute of how good of a big brother I am.
I could have sworn it was a bat, though.
It was no. There were bats that would fly around, but this in particular was a bird. And we found a dead bird in the yard. This is back on Albion Street, long before Michelle. But afterwards, for like a day or two after, I would like hold my hand behind my back. He'd be like, "Dana, I have something for you," and he'd be like, "Oh, what?" Thinking his big brother is being nicer. He'd be like, "The dead bird," and he would like freak out. Mom put a stop to that.
So it was just a dead bird you found in the yard. It wasn't, you didn't see it like hit a window or
No, we just found it in the yard. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's my other. It's all bird poultry related. But you know what's funny is I don't feel that way with turkey for some reason. And it's maybe just because I don't really cook a lot of turkey. And like I'll eat turkey deli meat, and I just, that's like super processed, and I just kind of know it's all set. But yeah, it's a chicken bird thing. But I don't like turkeys when I see them, like out in the yard. Like Cannoli will bark at the turkeys that come into the front yard, and I'm like, "Yeah, you bark at them. You tell them what's up. Tell them to get out of our yard." I have serious poultry problems.
Cannoli's barking at the turkeys, and Michelle's like, "Effing turkeys! Get out of the yard!"
Oh, it's too good. Well, why don't we talk about tell me your irrational fears. Let's start with fears first. What do you guys got?
I had to think far and wide in my mind about it, because I don't really fear much. And then you layer in irrational to it. So I would argue that the one fear I can think of that some might say is irrational is actually kind of based on my own experience, rational, but it started as an irrational fear, and it all stemmed from a movie I watched, and it unlocked a new fear for me.
Yep.
The log truck scene in Final Destination 2.
Yes.
Immediately after I seen that movie, I had like an irrational fear of driving behind not just log trucks, anything with any sort of vehicle hauling anything. I was like terrified for the longest time. And for a while, I would argue it was irrational because nothing ever happened until let's see. The first time something happened was about 7 years ago. I was driving behind a pickup truck that had a mattress in it. And I was driving up the highway, and the mattress flew out and bounced off the highway in front of my car. It didn't hit my car, but like bounced off to the side and hit the car next to me. And then a couple of years later, I was on the highway, and I was driving down 95, and I see this pickup truck with something wiggling around in the bed of the truck. And at first I thought it was like a canoe or a boat. And as I was getting closer, I saw it was a desk, like a giant wooden desk hanging off the back of the truck. And I was like, oh, he didn't secure that. He had it hauled with bungee cords, not tie downs, not rope, bungee cords. And it's like this wooden desk. So I was like, I'm switching lanes. So I switched lanes, and then I sped up and I went to go around him. And as I'm passing him, I watched just a gust of wind catch the inside of the desk, flip it over the bungee cord, land on the highway, and the car that was behind me slams into the desk, and there's just an explosion of wood all over the highway.
Oh my gosh.
And I just cruised down the road because I had the foresight to know that that could happen. So you might say that the irrational fear actually saved me.
Yeah, I think that is a good one because I actually didn't even put that under irrational fear for mine, but I totally, when I'm driving down the highway, 100%, you will see multiple cars move lanes to get out from, so all those people have seen that movie, that they're like, nope, not today, not today, death. And you can see it. It's like the parting of the Red Sea. Everyone is like, nope, we're going around that truck.
Yep. So that was what I came up with, and I hadn't thought about it until literally yesterday. I was driving down the street, and I was talking to Caitlin on the phone, hands free, of course, and she's like asking about the podcast today, and I said, "Yeah, we're going to be talking about irrational fears. I have plenty of like irrational thoughts and irrational things that make me upset, but I can't think of a fear." And then as I'm doing it, wouldn't you know, a freaking log truck comes up next to me on the highway and changes lanes in front of me. And I'm like, irrational fear unlocked, irrational fear unlocked. She's like, what? I'm like, I just realized what it is.
Yeah, that's David, do you have this fear of the log thing? Have you seen the movie we're talking about?
I have seen the movie you're talking about. No, I change lanes just because I don't want to be behind that slow MFer, and I just want to get to where I'm going. I mean, the thought crosses my mind, like, I got to be, anytime somebody's hauling something and I'm behind them, it's always crossing my mind, like, I should be more aware of what might happen here. But it's not to the point where I have anxiety about that. No.
That's good. I don't like when people are hauling stuff and it's like over the bed of the truck and they don't have the flag. You're supposed to have like a red or orange that like alerts other drivers, like, hey, this is sticking out. I hate when people don't have that. That's like a pet peeve. I hate when people like follow the rule. They have them when you load up your car at like these home improvement stores. Put the flag on.
I do have an irrational hatred and resentment that surrounds vehicles, though. And this is something that happens to me all the time. And in my irrational brain, I'm like, there's a conspiracy to make this happen. Everywhere that I drive a Ford Fiesta, right? Small car, never been like a big vehicle kind of guy. Every time I park somewhere, no matter where it is, at the gym, the grocery store, if I got to run to whatever, Target or whatever, no matter where I park, whether I park closer to the store or if I like go way far away, somebody inevitably in a giant ass F-350 will park right next to me on either side so that my view is blocked when I'm going to pull out.
I was literally just thinking about this yesterday.
That happens to me every single, and it's like, do you assholes like look for small cars? Like, do you know what you're doing? It just irritates the crap out of me. Yeah, you can tell I'm getting triggered right now, right?
Tell us how you really feel about it.
It's like every friggin' time. Okay, like 80% of the time. Today I went to the grocery store. I parked like way at the far end of the parking lot, and there was nobody around me, which was nice. But usually, without a doubt, people in their like big honking F-350s will park like right there.
I'm so sorry that happens to you. That is annoying because then you can't see right when you're trying to either
when I'm
back
trying to
up
get
or,
yeah. Because I mean, when I can, I try to make it so I can just like pull out.
Yes, yeah. I love
forward,
a pull through is what I call them. Like when I can pull through a spot and that way just go through. When I.
But if the place is, if I go in the middle of the day and the place is busy,
Yeah,
it's irritating.
Yeah. Well, that's like the people that have those big trucks that can't park them. And then they take up two spots in like a Market Basket parking lot where everyone is there at the same time. You're trying to find any spot you can get, and then you can't get your car in because they've now taken up two spots. I hate that too. Yeah.
So I don't think me being annoyed at that is really that surprising. The irrational part is I'm ascribing intent, like they're doing it intentionally, and probably 90% of the time they're just like whatever, they're just parking and going about their business. But in my head, I come up with this whole scenario of like they're cruising, look at like where's the smallest vehicles I can park next to
because
because I want to cause an accident.
They're probably like, a hardcore MAGA person driving their big truck with the big balls hanging off of it, saying, "Let me find some liberal little vehicle I can park next to. Oh, look at that little Ford Fiesta. Some little liberal Kamala Harris voter is driving that thing. Let me block them in."
I like that person had a southern accent. What is that? I can't. Oh my gosh. Okay, can we go back?
Well, I hold on. I could see somebody like because where I live, is very red and political nature. So I could see like a lot of people just own trucks just because a lot of, we got a lot of ranchers out here. We got a lot of farmers. We have a lot of people that do, manual labor or, fighting fires or whatever. So, there's just a high quantity of larger vehicles that people drive here. I just want to clarify, I am not a Kamala Harris voter. So yes, I'm a liberal, but I'm not a Kamala Harris voter. So I can see why people would see the car I drive and maybe think, oh, I bet that person's a liberal. Yeah, but yeah, you took it a step too far, Dana. I'm just saying, you took that extra step, and I have to set the record straight.
Okay.
And we're not going to talk about politics, I thought.
We're talking about vehicles.
Yeah, that's true. That you know what? I don't think it's irrational. I have a deep rooted, like, pissed offedness about the fact that everything we do now has some political significance attached to it. Every single thing, which I think is just annoying.
That is annoying. I agree. I do think it's annoying too. Like Mike driving a Tesla.
Yeah.
Like he just likes the Tesla. Like he's had it for years. He likes tech stuff.
Well, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been commented to about my Prius over the years since I've owned the Prius by people.
Really?
About how I must be politically. And they're not wrong. But
why should it matter?
But right? Especially when it's like, okay, well, a lot of things politically we might actually agree on. But you're gonna drive a fuel efficient, economically, environmentally friendly vehicle. I'm, a lunatic. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, it is kind of crazy how it permeates literally everything.
We let it though. We have let that happen.
True.
It's annoying.
Yeah.
All right, no more politic talk.
All right.
Dana, let's get back to your hatred of adults on bicycles.
Okay.
I need to know
for those that don't know what she's talking about, we had a little pre-show test where we were talking about potential show ideas, and this show came up, and I said I don't really have anything irrational except for maybe my irrational hatred of adults specifically on bicycles, and I can kind of rationalize it, but I know it's irrational. Like the whole thing that makes it an irrational hatred is I know I shouldn't feel that way.
Yeah.
But I do anyway. I see an adult on a bicycle, and my blood boils.
Why? Where does this come from?
If you've ever driven in Boston and you see the people on bicycles there, they think they own the road. It's like, you have to be aware. Like, I'm a motorcycle rider, right? So it's not like I'm not unaware of what it's like to ride on two wheels. You have to be aware that the drivers on the street, you're so unprotected to them, especially if you're on a bicycle, right? Like, you can't act like you own the road because a lot of times they don't see you. And you have to stay, they have specific bike lanes. They don't stay in the bike lane. They go out into the street. So a lot of it's like their irresponsibility a lot of times really irritates me. A lot of times they don't understand that they have to follow the rules of the road. Just because you're on a bicycle doesn't mean you have to stop at red lights. You don't get to ignore the rules of the road. You have to stop at stop signs. You have to follow all the same rules of the road. It's in the Massachusetts, pretty much in every state law, that you have to follow the rules of the road on a bicycle. And a lot of them, many adults, don't follow the rules of the road. Boston ran a campaign a couple years ago where they started giving tickets out to people on bikes for not following the rules of the road, and all the bicyclists were up in an uproar about it. They wanted to have protests at Boston police because they're giving us tickets. It's like, well, follow the rules of the road. You're going to get killed. Like, come on. It just makes my blood boil that people don't. And I'll make an exception for people that do like bike races, even though bike races, when they block the roads off for those and cause traffic and stuff like that, that's, but at least they have a reason to be on the bike. Competition, I'm all for competition. Charity rides, okay, that's fine. But if you're like, oh, I'm just so cool, I don't have to drive my car, I'm gonna ride my bike all over the place. Come on, be an adult. Get in the car and go to the store. Give me a break. Sorry.
Wow.
Irrational.
I thought it was because we used to have the bike race. Remember on our street when we were growing up, they had the bike race.
Yeah.
And they would close down the center of town. I thought you just didn't like the outfits or something.
No, I like two. I mean, whatever. If they're on a bike, okay. They're in a bike race. You want to wear a Speedo? Have at it, Haas. You know, go for it. If you're just out there in the, wear some shorts, okay? We don't need to see some guy's butt hanging out as he's riding down the street in spandex, all right? Because he wants to go get eggs. And he wants to go pay $10 for eggs on his $1,000 bicycle at the grocery store. Sorry. I'm sorry if I offended any bike riders out there. I know it's irrational. I do know it's irrational.
Oh my gosh. That is good. Oh my gosh. You know what my irrational hatred is? Which I just realized again, because, we pick these topics and then it's like, oh my God, I got to have, like, what are my things? Like, I don't know what I hate, what I like, And, but I realized, because I saw it a few times this week, I hate when people drive and they have stuff all over their dashboard, like tissues and like little trinkets, like I'm like, why are you decorating where you're supposed to be seeing out so that you can drive like effectively?
Especially when like over 80% of accidents are caused by distraction.
I don't
Let's add more distraction to my car.
And it looks just gross. It looks so gross. And I get that people can do it. I am not a person that can have stuff in either my rear view or because you see that all the time too.
Can you take those bobbleheads off the dashboard?
I have seen bobbleheads. I've seen the little sun, the sun ones where like the UV hits it and then it's like a little sunflower. Boop, 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 boop. No, get it out, put it in your window in your house, get it out of your car. I hate it. I hate that. I don't hate it as much as Dana hates adults on bicycles.
So let me tell you.
I do hate it.
So jumping off of this. So this week, a couple days ago, Caitlin was at her mom's house, and the neighbor came over and said to Caitlin, "I have a bike. Would one of your boys like it?" He goes, "It's more of an adult bike, but I know your kids are like teenagers now." And he goes, "It just needs some air in the tires. I'll put some air in the tires, and you can take it home." And Caitlin was like, "Okay." So she was going to leave it there and come back another time and get it. And I was like, "No, get it out of the house. I don't want it in the house." So she was like, "All right, I have to bring it home." So she's like, "I was going to ride it home, but I was so convinced that you would just pop out of a bush and see me riding the bike and want a divorce." So I had to push that bike all the way home. So I was giving her an irrational fear that I would just be hiding, lurking somewhere, looking for my wife riding the bike.
So can I just say, after listening to you talk, I think Caitlin might have made the right call there. Smart thinking, Caitlin.
Oh my God.
So I have an irrational hatred that not vehicle conveyance related. It is people related though.
Okay.
Because this has happened to me a lot and it used to happen to me a lot when I was younger, where you're walking with somebody, like a friend, and they run into somebody that they know, and then they have a conversation for like
an hour,
hours, and you're just standing there. I hate that. So what I've done, and this gets me in trouble. I've had a lot of people get pissed off at me for doing this. The friends in question, I will just go off and keep going to wherever I'm going.
Really?
Yeah.
Like immediately, or do you have like a threshold?
No,
of, like, if it goes longer.
I have a
than...
threshold.
Okay.
So here's how I look at it. If I'm with somebody and I see somebody that I know, I say, "Oh, hey, great to see you. By the way, this is, my
So-and-so.
girlfriend or my wife or my friend so and so." And then, have a little. So if they do that, if they're like, "Oh, this is my friend Dave," and I say hi and they say hi, and then they have like a catch up chat, you kind of get a feel of like when it's gonna wrap up. It's whatever. But it has happened to me so often where there's no it's like I suddenly don't exist anymore, and they're just involved in this conversation that really seems like it's going to go on for however long. So I will just go do something else, and then I get talked to for not letting them know that I was leaving or saying goodbye. And
so
it's like,
you don't tell them like, "Hey, I'll meet you there." You just leave.
I just leave.
Okay, so next week we'll have to have a video on why David's a bad friend. No, I'm just
Dave, I think you should at least be like, "Hey, I'm gonna head over to the coffee shop. I'll meet you there," or whatever. I think
just say that.
I think you need to tell them that you're going.
I think he's trying to repay rudeness with rudeness. I mean, it is rude to do that to somebody. It's extremely rude to do to somebody.
I get why you don't like it.
But he's repaying rudeness with more rudeness.
Don't stoop to their level, David. That's what Mom would say. Don't stoop to their level.
Yes.
There's like, peace out. I'll see you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Okay. You know what I thought you were going to say?
It's not like I disappear for the rest of the day. Like, it's not like they can't find me. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. You're thinking they are using like rational thought of like, oh, he left. He's going to where, our end destination was. Like the
I would
coffee
assume
shop
that.
or whatever. Yeah. I think you might just want to give him the heads up. Hey, I'll meet you there. And then walk away. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah. I probably won't listen to that.
I thought what you were going to say was that when you were walking with 2 or more people and you're the middle person and the 2 always, maybe this is like a high school thing, like when I was younger, but I feel like anytime there were 3 of us walking, the middle person always got pushed out. And I never wanted to be the middle person. I always wanted to be the end people to try to keep the middle person into the conversation because you get pushed out.
And I thought you were going to say when you were walking with somebody else and then someone else was walking in the opposite direction and then walks between you.
Oh. Yeah, that's annoying too. That's so funny. So we kind of talked about this already with like ones that are
By the way,
irrational.
let's just like talk about the elephant in the room here, that there's probably a large number of people that would watch this and probably be offended by our irrational behaviors. I just want to clarify, it is irrational, and we recognize this is irrational.
Yes.
We recognize that we shouldn't feel this way.
Yeah, this is a us problem, not a you problem.
Yes, exactly.
So I feel like my irrational fear of the chicken salmonella is a real, like, I really do think I should have a slight fear of that. I don't want to get sick. I don't want to have like food poisoning. I think that's maybe not to my degree, but somewhat rational to have this fear of salmonella. However, Mike has a fear that he does not think is irrational at all, which is the deep ocean.
I agree.
Okay, because
It
he
is
was
not at all irrational.
because he said, I was like, well, what are your irrational fears? And he's like, well, I don't really have an irrational fear. He's like, my fear is the ocean, but I feel like that is quite rational. And I was
Have you
like,
seen some of the things that live in the ocean?
Yeah, so
Do we need to talk about the Titanic submersible?
well, do you guys have, I know we kind of talked about it already, but do you have any other irrational fears that you're like, no, this is irrational. This is definitely rational.
Rational
Like
rational thought, and I thought about this week because it happened this week, and it set me off and triggered me, and I was like, I felt like at the time, it's hard. All right, I'll put a warning before the podcast about this, but something that triggers me, and it's in part due to my own trauma, is movies or TV when they show like sexual assault, and I get extremely, extremely upset for a multitude of reasons. A big thing of it is like injustice and stuff. But like this week we were watching Downton Abbey, and we're on like season 5 now, but in like one of the earlier seasons that we were on earlier this week, there was a sexual assault that took place, and I like instantly was like blood boiling, in a rage. I like had to stop. I couldn't watch it, and it wasn't even like it showed really anything. It's just like you knew what was going on, and it sent me into a tizzy. And I've had this happen to me before. Like I can remember a film class in college where we watched Deliverance, and that set me off. Okay, there's a guy getting attacked in that movie, and it really set me off. And I was like, I wanted to jump out of my skin, and I was like, just like, oh, it put me in a mood. I've kind of been like I've been in a mood ever since this week. Honestly, it's like thrown off my whole week.
Wow.
And that stuff really like I don't. Yeah, I was like, and Caitlin had seen this before, and I was like, you could have warned me. You know, like when I get upset when people get mad. Like, oh, you need a trigger warning, like for stuff like that, for someone that could potentially be a victim of something and has those feelings. Yes, they do. Like they do. So I get but it's rational. Like I can rationalize. Yes, I know exactly why I feel that way, and it is like an injustice to people. The irrational part is like that's fictional. It's a fiction. So in my head, I'm like, well, it's fictional. I shouldn't be acting like this. I shouldn't be this upset. I shouldn't like, but for whatever reason, it does trigger me. So I don't know. That's
well, I mean, speaking from like a clinical perspective, right? I mean, there's a big difference. And I think part of the issue is that as a society, we throw that word around a lot, like triggered. And we, even during this podcast, we've both, we've all kind of used it as like in a funny way. But the reality is like there's some, especially where somebody has like a past traumatic experience that they associate with that, like whether it's fictional or not, it actually activates the nervous system, right? So it doesn't matter rationally. We might think this, recognize this is just a work of fiction. It doesn't, but it still actually activates our nervous system. That's what trauma does. And that's why, when we talk about, I try to, especially in my practice with my clients, I don't use the word triggered. I used like activated or elevated because we're talking about the nervous system, right? Triggered, I think, has been used so much that people think of it as, oh, this person's just making a big deal out of nothing, right? Like with that word, even though it did have a clinical application, now it's kind of passed into the mainstream and people kind of look at it like whatever. So, telling somebody in terms of like, oh, this was something that triggered you could come off as like very condescending, right? But if you talk about it in terms of like, you saw this and it activated your nervous system, right? For whatever reason, like that's a totally clinically valid response. And just basically I'm agreeing with what Dana is saying. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's a fictional thing, any association can set that process off in our brain and thus our nervous system. So,
well, I think too, something like that, yes, it's fictional, you're watching a show, but we know that this happens in real life.
Yeah.
And so that, I think, because I think about that, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this really happens to people. This really happened in the past. Like when you watch a movie, we just watched Argo. I've never seen that movie. And I was like, oh my God, these kids were really like looking through shreds of paper, trying to piece together these faces. Like that was a real thing. So yeah, even though it's fictional, it has happened. Like it can happen. And that's what makes you like, oh my God, like you said, it brings up these like feelings, I don't know how to get us back.
Well, I'll do an abrupt subject change.
Okay,
I'm fine
please
with that.
do.
So for many years, and this is, I had a fear of flying, which again had its roots in very real experiences, and I don't know if it ever rose to the level of PTSD, but I definitely had a post-traumatic reaction to it, to where, I've been on 2 planes that have been on emergency landings, both within the space of 1 year. One was in 2000 on the way to England, and one was in 2001 on the way to Saudi. Um, so that left me with, anytime I got on a plane, you both know I love to travel. For years afterwards, if I got on a plane and there was even the slightest bit of turbulence, I would freeze.
Mm.
Like I would literally not be able to move because I was so convinced that the plane was going to go down. And rationally I knew it wasn't going to go down, but still, I had to get over that. And I think I've actually, through continuing to fly, my desire to travel was greater than my fear of flying.
I was just going to say, how did you overcome that?
So part of it was like reading, because there are some pilots that have written books about just like being a pilot and flying, and they're, kind of reading up on like when turbulence happens or when it's severe, like what is happening in the cockpit, and reading that most pilots, they're not worried. The main reason they're worried about turbulence is because they know it causes anxiety for the passengers.
Oh.
Right. And the other thing they worry about, especially since like we've had more incidents of like where turbulence is more severe, they're worried about people being injured. They're not worried about the plane going down. They're worried about people being injured because they're not wearing their seatbelts, or they're getting up when the signs, when they're not supposed to. I think I've gotten over it because now I can get on a plane and be pretty calm. I learned, like, every time I got on a flight, like during takeoff, during landing, I would listen for the sounds and the sensations, like, okay, this is pretty normal. I read about a trick, like if there's turbulence, if you bounce yourself in your seat,
You taught me
it
that.
actually
I
helps
still
you,
do
it
that.
helps you stay calm. And I actually put all that to the test because coming back from Vietnam, flying from Seattle to Medford, I was honestly thinking that the plane might go down. I don't know if I told you guys that or not.
You texted us that, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dana's muted. I see you talking.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
In the midst of all the things that were going on in the aviation that week.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just I'll tell the story briefly for anybody that might be listening. So coming back from Seattle to Medford, Oregon, which is about an hour flight, usually no issues, but we do fly over mountains. So sometimes it's a little bumpy, especially when we're coming into Medford. There were high winds that day. And, it was me and maybe like 10 other people on this flight. It was like a 45-seater. It was like a smaller plane. The plane was like rocking like a swing during the descent. And I was like, oh boy. And I was looking out the window and I actually started to get airsick, which has never happened to me before, ever. I've done probably flown close to 100 times at least in my lifetime. And I've never felt airsick. And then I heard the landing gear go down and we start going down. And then suddenly the plane accelerates and shoots back up into the sky. And there was a lot of clouds. So we're in a cloud shooting up into the sky. I can't see anything. The pilot's not saying anything. The flight crew's not saying anything. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Oh my gosh.
So it turned out the reason he had done that was because when the pilot came on, he said, like after 15 minutes, he's like,
after everyone's panicking.
Yeah. He's like, oh, we were approaching from the north. The cloud cover made the visibility too low. So we've gotten clearance to approach from the south. And and I'm like, great, we get to go through all that again. But again, I could hear in the pilot's voice, like, we just had a very close call.
Really?
Because I really think the visibility was so bad because even after I heard the landing gear come down, we were descending really fast. So I think he realized we were coming in too quick and
had to bail.
Had to
adjust.
Yeah,
Yeah.
had to bail. So I was honestly like thinking, like, is this it? Like, am I
God.
like I mean, it would figure, I just got married and
Oh my God.
is it time for me to jump off this mortal coil?
I have a fear of flying, but it all stems from getting woken up from stupid Jeff. I'll never forget this. You guys know this story. We were coming home from Vegas. We always did the red eye so that we could have more time in Vegas during the day, and we would like sleep, quote unquote, on the plane. So we were actually asleep on this plane. This woman starts screaming, Jeff, 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 screaming his name in the row next to us. Jeff, wake up, Jeff. And so we all wake up, and Jeff is like bobbing his head. He's hitting it on the seat in front of him. He's bobbing. I mean, this guy was out. She is freaking out. He finally comes to, and he's like, what? And he like looks over at her, what? And then vomits. And all you can smell is alcohol. Like, this guy drank all day in Vegas and then probably took whatever, to relax on the plane, and it did not go well. So they have the light, like, oh, is there any nurse or doctor on board? If so, please put your light on or whatever. And so these people come down, and they're checking him out, and he's like, no, I'm fine. He was like all chill about it. I did not sleep for like 24 hours after that. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could hear was Jeff, 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 Jeff. I wonder where Jeff
How much
is
longer
now.
in the flight was there?
Oh, we probably had another 4 hours.
Oh, God. Did it smell the whole time?
It was awful. The girl next to me was like this, like looking at me like this. And I was like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I just can't look over there. I'm like, all right. Like, no problem. Just keep looking over. Because the smell was so bad.
There's nothing worse than smells on a plane. I mean,
Oh yeah.
my last trip to Vegas, I was by myself. No one went with me last time, so I was solo. And the guy sitting next to me on the plane on the way there was farting the entire 5.5-hour ride. Literally every 10 minutes, he would let off the most heinous farts. And everyone around us was just like, and I'm just like, please don't think it's me. It's not me. It was the most, and I had a flight a couple of years ago with a lot of turbulence that was pretty bad. There was no turbulence, smooth flight. This was like the worst flight I've ever had. Because it was bad. I mean, the smell was, we were getting crop dusted in the plane.
I know there's no circulation up there,
It's just
Like,
circulating the
just in this
scent.
tube.
And he's like reviving the scent every 10 minutes with a new one. Oh, it's time to freshen the air with some fresh poopery.
Oh my God.
It was miserable. I was so happy to land.
Yeah, that's like when people take their shoes off in an in an airplane too, and their feet smell. Ugh, so bad. So bad. But yeah, so that was my fear. And I didn't fly until we went to see you, Dave. So we didn't fly again for like, I don't know, like almost 10 years, I think. I was like, nope,
Yeah.
we're driving. Anywhere we go, we drove. And now, I have done, shorter flights. Like we went to South Carolina. That was like 3 hours. I'm like, okay, I can do that. But even then, like I hold Mike's hand as tight as I can. Like, yeah, I just get real nervous. Stupid Jeff. I'll never sleep on a plane again. Oh, gosh. Not good. Any other fears or hatreds that you guys want to discuss? Have you guys find that you have other people that like have commented, or like when you tell them like, oh, I hate this, I hate that, like that they're like, oh my God, me too.
I've brought up the bike thing before, and I've had people agree with me and be like, oh my God, me
Really?
too. Yeah. I've totally brought up the bicycle thing, and have had people tell me I get the same feeling when I see people on bicycles. Like,
That's so funny.
I'll see them on the side of the road, and my blood pressure goes way up.
Oh, you know what my new somewhat fear is? I think I'm watching too much TV. Is we watched The Lincoln Lawyer. That's what this is what got me. I am like terrified now of being falsely accused of something and like having to go to jail. I watch too much TV. Like we watch way too much TV because this should not be a fear of mine. But I know that's irrational because but it's you go to a hotel, right? You leave DNA, then like a murder happens the next day, and then your DNA is
all
there.
there.
Like it's scary. I mean, I'm sure that really happens.
So is it really irrational?
I don't think so, but I'm a person with anxiety, so I think that all things are possible. That's the problem with me. But yeah, that's a somewhat new one. I just started getting that fear like within the last, I don't know, like 4 months, because we've been just like I said, we watch a lot of TV, we watch a lot of dramas, you know. And I'm like, this poor guy. He's in jail. He's losing weight. He's not with his loved ones. Ugh.
I have a fear of like something happening to me and not being able to call for help. I guess.
Oh, really?
That used to happen a lot as a kid, and I never really thought about it. And then another recent thing, like last night, Mom came to me in a dream last night, and she was talking to me, and I couldn't understand what she was saying. And at first, I was like, "Ma, I can't hear you,
Yeah.
Mom." And then I couldn't talk, and I'm like trying to, Mom, and then she's like walking away, Mom, and then but I couldn't talk. Nothing was coming out.
So you don't know what she was trying to tell you?
No,
Oh.
no. And then I woke up, right?
I woke up. Gonna say.
I woke up and I couldn't breathe. I was like, my throat felt like I was like closing in on me. My lungs couldn't hold air. I was gasping for breath. Caitlin's like, "What's the matter?" I was like, "I'm having an anxiety attack." And then, later on, I'm like, oh, "Yeah, mom came and I couldn't talk to her. I couldn't understand what she was saying. I couldn't talk to her."
Oh my gosh. Do you guys, what's that thing where you, like, when you're asleep and your body is, like, paralyzed? What's that called?
Like sleep paralysis.
Sleep
Yes.
paralysis.
Yes. I wonder if you had a form of that or something where you, like, couldn't, because I've had that and I do start to panic. I'm like, oh my God, I can't move my arm. Like, why can't I move? Like, I want to roll over. Why can't I? And then you just kind of have to forget that that's an issue. And then eventually I can roll over. But it's panicking knowing you can't move. So I can imagine you not being able to talk would be
Well,
like,
man, if you think about it logically, you're supposed to be asleep, so your body is not supposed to do that thing.
right.
And that's the thing where your body's malfunctioning and people sleepwalk when you can do that
Right.
stuff.
That's a good point.
And you end up like
right.
Mike Birbiglia jumping through the second story of a hotel window. Like, so you actually aren't supposed to be able to do that stuff. But in the moment, it's like terrifying because like you don't realize you're in a dream. So you're thinking, why isn't this working? Why can't I do anything? But your body won't agree because you're actually supposed to be sleeping. So I think I was kind of like somewhere stuck in a state between awake and asleep, and I couldn't. So my body was still like, no, you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah, but your mind was like, no, I am. I'm awake.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we need to do a podcast on dreams and such, because I have a lot of repetitive dreams. Like, that I have the same, I'll have it over and over, or like like the same themes of dreams. I love dreams. I love looking them up, seeing what they mean.
I'm sure
If you
David has
guys-
some thoughts on that. He probably thinks it's bunk.
I was just going to say, Mike thinks that it's nothing. I'm like, no, this dream means that. And he's like, no, it just means that I ate, we were talking about shrimp last night. And so I
Yeah.
dreamt about shrimp. I'm like,
I think it's your brain just trying to process the information it already knows and trying to feed it to you in some sort of weird way. I don't know.
all right, clinical
I
Dave.
think clinically, I think dreams have meaning, but they have a personal meaning. So they're probably, I mean, sometimes they are just like, your subconscious farting pretty much, right? Just like various stuff. But sometimes I think if there is any meaning to be found in the dream, it's a very personal thing. It's our own mind's way of trying to communicate an issue to us or work out an issue. I do think the part I think is bunk is like all these like dream interpretation books and stuff like that. Like if you dream this, then that means this. And it's like, I think that's a load of crap.
So you mean when I have a dream and I look up dream, what do I go? I think it's dreammoods.com or something like that. And I
No,
search.
you were not a queen in the 15th century. That's not what that dream means.
Whatever, I will continue to look up my dreams. Well, this was fun. I'm glad we talked about this. We had a lot of laughs. That was fun.
I needed a lot of laughs because I had a very tough week this week. So
It was.
It
yeah.
sounds it.
thank you both for spending some time with me today. David, what's on the agenda for next week?
Next week, we're going to advise the internet again.
Yes.
We are going to actually, this is a little bit, I think, more interesting to me because I'm more recently removed from the dating scene, but I'm fascinated by relationships. I mean, I am a marriage and family therapist. So I thought we would take a look at some of what older adults are running into in their dating landscape. And much like we did with our first podcast, I thought we would all weigh in on how we think that person should proceed or what their problem is.
Love it.
Excellent. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube. If you are watching on Spotify, make sure you click that review button Maybe leave a comment, give us a 5-star rating. All that stuff helps us with the algorithm and grow the show. We appreciate you tuning in very much. Oh, and make sure you hop on over to SibRiv Podcast Facebook page.
Yes.
And we'll put that link in the description below as well. Until then, we'll hope everyone has a good week. I love you too.
Love
We
you
love
too.
you.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for
Bye.
listening.
SibRiv is produced by DS Entertainment Network and Dana Scott. Your hosts are David Scott, Dana Scott, and Michelle Zaborski. Our theme song is Alone Tonight by Ocean Drive, which can be found on creatormix.com. Be sure to check the description below for links to our social media, YouTube, and Spotify pages. The Sibling Rivalry Podcast uploads a new episode every Monday. Be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so that you can be made aware every time a new episode drops.
So fun. Oh, that was a good one.
That's going to be interesting to edit.
I know.
I kind of agree.
What?
Ah, victory.
Overrated. Overrated.
Well, you know-
Overrated.
Well, you know what I think?
Get the blueberries to
One
it.
bite. You've had
Okay,
one
Michelle.
bite.
If I was to hand you said shit sandwich, would you need to take a bite before you knew that it tasted bad?
No.
Okay then. The rooster is safe, everybody. Anybody that listens, my wife is not abusing animals or anything like that.